government is reflecting in some ways the cultural mood in this country. As I said a moment ago, it is a tough country to speak up. A lot of Australians don't like whistleblowers. It's a dirty word. You know, you compare that with places like the United States, where to be called a whistleblower is in fact a great compliment. But to be called a whistleblower in Australia, and Assange is a whistleblower, it's a dirty word with all sorts of connotations. But the way to overcome that is for government and politicians to act like leaders and to try and overcome those fault lines through the community. And instead they seek to tap into it. And that's exactly what the Prime Minister was doing, particularly late last year, and other members of the government, when they were trying to single out Julian Assange as WikiLeaks as troublemakers, people who are breaking the law, people who are guilty. They are trying to tap into that sentiment in the Australian community, when in fact what they should be doing is acting like leaders and actually taking a neutral role and, in fact, if anything, speaking up for people who try and speak truth to power. The bottom line for me is that this government and the government before it and the government before that, that's the Gillard government, the Rudd government and the Howard government, they are hypocrites, because they talk a lot about freedom of speech, they talk a lot about our fundamental human rights, they talk about the strength of our justice system, they jump through hoops, but at the end of the day they do not want people to speak up. Now, it's worth noting that in the last 6 months, through the Parliament, has passed what are frequently called shield laws, which are, it's a first in Australia. It will provide protection for journalists who publicise the information from whistleblowers, not unlike would apply, which could possibly apply to Julian Assange. But did the Gillard government do that because they wanted shield laws in Australia? No, they did it because a crossbencher demanded it, and they found themselves having to do it. In other words, they were not prepared to do it until it was in their political self-interest to have a shield law in this country, and that's not acceptable. What about whistleblower legislation? For decades, various political parties, probably starting with the Democrats in the 1980s, have tried to get whistleblower legislation up in this country. And yes, the Rudd government made the first cautious steps in the term of the Rudd government, but in essence, the only reason there will be whistleblower legislation established for sure in the term of this parliament is because the crossbenchers and the Greens have demanded it. In other words, it is only happening because it's in the political